All right, let's get after it. Welcome in. I'm Laurence Holmes. Thanks so much for hanging out. If you're listening to the podcast on Spotify or on Apple, we appreciate you for that. If you are just checking out what's going on here on YouTube, we appreciate you for that as well. We've gone over 4,000 subscribers on the YouTube page. So thank you for only really working on the YouTube page for 3 months. It's really cool organic growth. And I thank you for your support. Shout out to Remy Martin. Got the Remy Martin cap on. I decided that I wasn't going to race home. I was out enjoying Thanksgiving with my parents, and I was like, you know what? Even though I'm sitting there looking at my dad with his sad face as he's watching, trying to understand exactly what's going on at the end of that game and being like, there's so much time left. What are they doing? Asking the quintessential question that everyone is asking about your boy, Matt Eberflus, and his choices at the end of the game with 30 some odd seconds left and a timeout. To have that level of confusion for your team on your offense and your head coach not step in and call a timeout and set. I've been in text threads all day today, and I was not expecting that to be the case either. But the only bad option of the options on the option menu that were available for him in that moment, the only one that was bad was the one that he chose. Here's what I mean. If they tell Caleb from the sideline to clock the ball at any point, to clock it all the way up to having 2 seconds left, if at any point they tell him to clock it, you could at least try the field goal. You could at least try it. If Eberflus calls the timeout immediately, that's a better choice than the choice that he made. If Eberflus waits until there's 10 seconds left, calls a timeout because guys were, if you watch the play, guys were struggling to get lined up. Caleb struggling to either get the verbiage out or to make sure that everyone has got the play. You call the timeout with 10 seconds left. You could run a play to the boundary, and then you could kick the field goal, or you could run a play to the end zone. And if it fails, you could kick the field goal. If he calls the timeout with 2 seconds left to just let Cairo Santos kick the field goal, that's a better option than what he chose. The only bad option was to sit there paralyzed. You know, I'm a big sci-fi geek. I don't know if you've been watching Star Trek Strange New Worlds, but at the end of season 2, there's a scene where the captain of the ship is in the middle of an attack and he's in a really hard position and he's trying to figure out what to do. And everyone is like, waiting on your orders, Captain, as the Enterprise is being bombarded. And he's just, and there's just a one shot like of him not making a decision, being paralyzed by all of the options and the choices, trying to figure out the best one. That was what Matt Eberflus was like on the sidelines. There were a couple people, not a lot, but a couple people that jumped into my comments after the game and were like, well, this is on Caleb too. Fam, I am not putting that on the rookie quarterback who rallied them back to be in a position to win the game. Yeah, he'll learn from it, and I guarantee you he won't do that again. There'll never be a moment like that again in Caleb Williams' NFL career. He will take charge in that situation. Guess who's supposed to help him? His coach is supposed to help him in those moments. And whether it's not calling a timeout before the Hail Mary against Washington or the nonsense that we saw today, There is no zero, zilch, cero, nada. There's no argument for Matt Eberflus coaching as a head coach ever again. And I know that sounds harsh, and I'm someone who believes in redemption. The coaching that he has done in his entire tenure as Bears head coach, but specifically in the last 6 weeks, should disqualify him from ever having a head coaching job. Maybe if some desperate team, if his alma mater wants to hire him in the MAC, God bless. But you talk about someone who doesn't have a feel for the game. I used to be a high school coach, so this is no diss. There isn't a high school coach that I know that would have allowed that to happen. And that's bad, right? Like what happened at the end of the game is bad. What's worse is him doubling down on it. His quotes after the game where he's telling you, no, that's what we were trying to do. No, it's not. And you know how I know? One, because I have eyes. Two, because even if I didn't have eyes, if I had ears and I listened to your players in the post game, they are stuck trying to be like, I don't really understand what happened either in that moment. The McCaskey should fire him when the plane lands tonight. They should tell him thank you. And they should, whether it's promote Thomas Brown or promote John Hoke, whoever, you can't have this level of incompetence coaching your team. Now, maybe, just maybe, because everyone unanimously has been telling you in this moment, because it was an island game, everyone's watching. Everyone around the country is watching that game. And every analyst, whether it's Matty Ice or JJ Watt, even Jim Nantz at the end saying that the Bears completely botched that in-game situation. It should hurt you at a very deep level organizationally that your coach can't get it done. If I'm Kevin Warren, I'm looking at Ryan Poles too. Your man's. This is your guy. You stood behind him when everyone was telling you that this was not the right guy to have coaching Caleb in his first year. You stood by him. You doubled down on him, even though we all know how terrible he is in situational football. How in the world can an organization claim to take itself seriously, witness what we witnessed this afternoon, and keep going forward? The BS that he was spouting too about how, well, the team just got to keep fighting after something like this. That's wild. When you stood there paralyzed by fear. And maybe it was fear of making the wrong choice, but make a choice. Because by not making a choice, you made a choice. And anyone who's higher than him should be having real serious conversations with themselves or with their superiors about him not being allowed back in the building over the next couple of days. Because now's the time to do it. You have time, and I get it. You don't want to keep paying a guy, or that guy's connected to your agent, so you don't want to do that, whatever. But now would be the time to do it. Like when you land, you give him a free ride back from Detroit, that 45-minute flight. But when you land, after everyone drives off, coach, stick around for a minute. We need to talk. because that stuff can't ever happen again. And it keeps happening. The Bears keep inventing ways to lose games. If you take, and I said this to Speaks earlier this week, if you take one of the games over the last, now you can do 5 weeks, but if you take one of the games leading into this game and flip the result, take any of the 4 previous games and flip the result, now you're talking about a game where you're walking in with a chance to get yourself back into the playoff picture. Okay? Flip any of those games. Turn any of them around. You had a chance to win the game. That's the other thing. The other choice that he could have made, which would have been the right one in that moment. And this is on Thomas Brown too. In that moment, you have your play called, go up to the line and try to win. If they try to win, even if Caleb throws an interception, I don't know if anyone's mad. Disappointed maybe, but not mad at the idea of trying to win a game that you fought valiantly to get back into. How can those guys take anything that he says seriously at this point? You can't. I can't. It's ridiculous. It defies logic. And for the Bears to tacitly agree with his idea of strategy by allowing him to still be the head coach of the Bears after another 6-game losing streak. They've had 3 of those in the last 5 years, and 2 of them have been on Matt Eberflus's watch. You're going to allow him to continue? He was we joke about the concept of the national embarrassment. Eberflus was the example. He is the abject lesson of being a national embarrassment. That's what he was. That's what it made the franchise look like this afternoon. How can you look yourself in the mirror and every other person who works for the Bears in the eye and go, that's our leader, that guy right there, the guy that in the moment where you needed to make a choice couldn't? Like, even if it's 3rd down, so again, another choice, like spike it, it's 4th down, and now you can, if you spike it and say, screw it, we're going for it, I got no problem with that either. It's a shame. Like, everyone deserves better. Everyone deserves better. And I can't believe someone who has been around football as long as he has. I can't believe that someone who played football at the level that he played football would be incapable in the moment of truth of doing something. And to be so nonchalant and cavalier about it, to act like it wasn't a big deal, to not take ownership. Maybe he'll do that tomorrow if he's given a chance to. I doubt it, because he had a chance to take ownership of it in the post game, and he just kind of brushed it off. Whatever it is that he's doing, it's not leadership. And it's not the type of person that you want in front of your organization. It's definitely not the type of person that you want coaching what is clearly a guy who can be a star. It's just all wrong. It's all wrong. A blowout would have been better than this. Because at least you could fall back on the idea that Detroit's way better than you. And you were just outmanned. You were outcoached. And I don't think Dan Campbell had a great coaching game today. But you were outcoached. And you did it to yourself. And it needs to be rectified. He got to go. He's got to get on up out of here. Because he is incompetent. I'm sorry. it's a harsh word. I don't even like saying it. It is the truth. And my evidence of that is his previous 6-game losing streak, this current 6-game losing streak, what happened at the end of the first half against Arizona, what happened at the end of the game against Washington, what happened with this team going up against New England, what happened against Green Bay, what happened with Minnesota last week, what happened today at the end of the game where your head coach froze. He froze like Quantum Leap. He froze like Sam Beckett jumped into his body and was trying to figure out where he was. And even Sam, after 30 seconds, would have done something. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. I'm sorry about all of this, and I'm sorry that it sucks for you and your family. But yeah, he's got to go. And the sooner the better. As soon as you get off the plane, he got to go. And if he doesn't got to go, it tells you everything you need to know about how the Bears are still run. Peace.